Hi, Michael Bettine here. Once again, talk about some subjects that have been on my mind. And this is all about change, especially evolution and of your playing, your setup, of everything you do. I think it's really an ongoing part of life. I mean, the only sure thing in life is change. And in Buddhism, one of the big teachings is that nothing is static. The minute you try to grasp on to something and hold it there, it moves, it dissipates or something. So change is just the way of life, the way of the universe. I don't have any gongs put up right now because I'm in the midst of just working on a different project, changing the sounds around, and nothing is up there yet. But I want to talk about my past weekend. I played 2 gigs, Friday and Saturday. My usual setup. Both were very different from each other. Different facilities, each with a different vibe, different people with a different vibe, and then myself having a different vibe from day to day. That's one of the reasons I don't work with any sort of set things, because I realize the minute you try to grasp onto it, this is what I do, this is what I always do, it changes. Things are different. I believe everything in the universe is fluid, especially the sounds we make. I believe people hearing the sounds is a very fluid activity. Thus, no one person hears one sound the same way as anybody else. A good example is my Saturday session, talking to the people afterwards. I had one person who said that they have lupus and they love coming to my sessions because it alleviates the pain, it helps them relax and feel good. And they specifically said that the number 0 bronze gong, when I play that gong, it just goes like right into them. I mean, that is the sound for them. And that's what I find. Okay, so here's this person, and the number 0 gong totally affects them in a very positive manner. And I'm not trying to do that. I'm not saying that, like, okay, I'm going to help your lupus by playing this gong. I just deliver the sounds. And I feel it's up to the people to use the sounds in whatever way they see fit, whether consciously or subconsciously using the sounds. But I'm getting off the subject there a little bit. The point is, talking to everybody else there, nobody else felt that same way about the number 0 gong. Other people mentioned other instruments like the kalimba. 2 women were like, when you played that and walked around with that, wow, that did something to us, did something to me. Again, it's fluidity. Don't try to hold on to this gong is always going to affect people in this way, because it won't. That's why I don't personally adhere to like the whole planetary system or even the chakra systems as far as, chakras aligning with sounds. Like this note is the heart chakra, this note is the throat chakra. Because over and over and over, I have seen it demonstrated, no, that just doesn't work. I can play what is supposedly a heart chakra bowl, and some people might feel it in their heart, but other people will feel it elsewhere, and there will be some people who will go, that bowl does not affect me at all. Thus, with the number 0 gong, one person was totally, taken with it. It did what they needed. It took care of them. But other people didn't remark on that one. They remarked on my other instruments, the kalimba, the shakers, a different gong, some of the bells. So I do implore you, stay open. Even if you work with a system, stay open, because everything is fluid. And even modern physics is finding that the universe is much more fluid than previously thought. And along with that, I've made a lot of videos where I work with alchemy, alchemical archetypes, and things like that. But I do not hold fast to them. I remain fluid with them. And I realize that this archetype will work for this person, but it won't work for that person. And it's not for me to decide who anything's going to work for. I think that's really important, at least for me. Maybe you have different results, and that's fine, because we are all different. But for me, I just cannot hold fast to anything and say, XYZ is going to work for ABC. Because the minute I do that, somebody says, that doesn't work for me. Or they say, that other thing over there, that's what worked for me, not this one. It's very hard to just try to package things and make them nice and neat, because it doesn't work that way. So again, even if you work with a system, the chakras, the planets, astrology, any sort of whatever, and you have it bound up to your sound, your gongs, your bowls, whatever, remain open. Remain fluid, that things can move in that. Okay, part 2. I kind of got off the subject a little there. But change, evolution. I keep changing. Sometimes it's fun for me to look back at old videos or listen to old recordings and realize that was then. That's what I was doing at that time and how it's changed. Or even just looking at photographs of my setups and how my instruments have changed. Everything has evolved over time to the present moment, which is the only moment. The only important moment is right now. What I did last Friday isn't important now because I cannot recreate last Friday. What I did a year ago or 10 years ago or 20 years ago is not important in the context of today, other than all of that led up to this moment. Right now, I'm speaking to you in a present moment on this video, which will not be live, but this is my moment right now. So again, don't get so hung up on where you've been. Where you've been is only leading to where you are. And where you are will eventually lead to where you are going. But I think it's difficult to always sort of plan where you're going and say, at X time, I will be over here. That doesn't always work because things change. Things get thrown at us from unseen sources, and we have to react to them. We have to adapt to them. But I look at Friday and Saturday, completely different sessions, as expected. I remained open. I followed the sounds. I played. I did things. And they were very different. One thing was my number 2 bronze gong, which has become a mainstay of my setup and a gong that I use a lot at each session. I hardly played it last weekend. Saturday, I think I might have struck it 3 times. Maybe 5 at the most. Mostly just for some sort of shade. Going along with some other sounds, to blend in, but not the way I normally used it as sort of a portal gong or a scene change gong or something like that, where to me it's a very dramatic punctuation to whatever I'm doing, whereas I hardly played it. And I only realized that afterwards as I was packing up and I'm taking the gong and going, oh, putting it away. It's like, I didn't play you. I hardly played you at all. Now you have to realize that gong really has been, a mainstay. I've used it so much over the past 2.5 years. And I love the gong. But this is about being fluid. It's like, I'm going with the moment. In whatever reason, the gong wasn't calling out to be played, or just that sound of the gong wasn't calling out. I didn't need that sound. Not a big deal in the overall scheme of things, but just, be aware of things like that. Often I'll bring things and I won't play them. Thinking back to, what didn't I play? Sometimes like the ocean drum. I didn't use the ocean drum on Saturday. I don't think I used it on Friday either. Usually I walk around with that, but I didn't. That sound wasn't calling. Sometimes the Burma Bells, I will not play them. It'll be the end of the session and I'll be looking over and go, oh, Burma Bells, did I play them? And I didn't. I did this weekend. In fact, Saturday I started with the Burma Bells. I just had this sort of feeling, this impulse, whirling sounds. Let's start with some air. Get these whirling sounds going. And I started there. There will be times when I don't play the Burma Bells at all, or the Drobu Bells. They're sitting there on my table, and I won't pick one up. I won't play it. Or I might just play it with a mallet and not use a wand on it to get it to sing. Fluid. Everything is fluid. And again, don't try to grasp onto something and hold on to it and make it fixed and say, every time I play a session, I'm going to do this. I'm going to play this gong or this bowl or this bell. I'm going to do it in this manner every time. Don't do that. Stay open, stay loose, stay able to adjust to the present moment, which again is the only moment. The only bit of time we can experience is the now. We can't re-experience the past. You can have memories of the past, right? And you can look at photographs and videos. You can listen to recordings you made. You can just think in your head about, oh, my vacation. But that's not, it's a recreation of it. It's not real because it's a memory. Same thing with the future. You can have dreams and expectations and plans for the future, but none of that is real because the future is yet to happen. So all we have is right now, the present moment, right here. So when you play, stay in that present moment. That's just extremely important, to be in the moment. I try not to be playing and thinking about what I just played, or what I might play, or what I had for dinner the night before, or how my drive was to the gig or anything like that. No, I try to stay focused on the sounds, and I'm listening to the sounds, and I'm feeling the room, I'm feeling the people, I'm paying attention to myself, and I'm just trying to find, to me, what I would call the flow. I'm trying to find the flow, which to me is like a river. Jump in that river and then let's just start floating. Go with that flow and see where it leads to. And sometimes the number 2 gong is an important part of that. And other times like this past weekend, it isn't. Another thing that's been happening, which is very spontaneous on my part, is vocalizations. There are times I will do overtone singing into a gong, or I will do some chanting into a gong. But what I've been doing lately, and it's when I've been drumming on a gong, is more of sort of inspired by I'm trying to think of the term of it, what the type of music it is, but from the Arctic Circle, from the various peoples who inhabit that region. They do a sort of indigenous singing that's similar, surprisingly, across like northern Canada and into Scandinavia and probably over into Russia and all that. Is just this very sort of vocal chanting experience. I don't know what you would call it, but I've been using my breath a lot in more breath sounds, like, as long with my drumming, where I'm drumming and I'm loudly breathing in rhythm with the drumming, or things like that. And that just spontaneously happened a while ago. And I don't do it at every session, but sometimes I just feel like this breath sound is needed. It adds to the whole thing. And just the idea of, I think, breathing too, air and breathing. And we are all here. We're all breathing together. I don't do it every time. I don't chant every time. I don't overtone sing every time. I don't just do wordless vocals every time. If I planned any of that, and it's like, yes, tonight I'm going to do this chant or this mantra or something, it just wouldn't work right, because I probably wouldn't do it. Because when I got to wherever point, I'd do something else, or I wouldn't do anything at all. So again, stay fluid, stay loose, stay open, listen. If you know me at all, you know that's one of my biggest things is listening. And listen not just with your ears, listen with your whole body. As you can hear the space and feel the space, listen with your inner voice too, your inner ear, your third eye, whatever you want to call it. Listen with that. And stay fluid. And follow things. When things come up, follow them. They're often more interesting than what you could plan and more exciting. And that's what keeps me interested in doing this. Unlike playing in a rock band where you're playing, the same set every night in the same order, the same songs, and everybody goes through the same motions. And especially nowadays, because so much is choreographed to a click track. And I'm not against that. It's fine. I mean, a lot of these bands have, computerized lights, and they might have some backing tracks, and they have all this sort of stuff, or they're on such a huge stage where people are so far apart. They've got in-ear monitors with a click track and cues on there, countdowns and things for when parts come up or tempos change or things like that. You cannot deviate, especially if you're the drummer playing to a click. You have to go with that. The minute you get off the click, you throw the whole thing into disarray. But what we are doing is a totally different sort of thing. We're not presenting a show necessarily. We have no click track. We have no plan to follow. And that's why I like this. Again, I'm not against bands with click tracks and backing tracks and, putting on a show. I've gone to plenty of concerts where bands do that. And it's necessary. Some of the music is extremely technical. And they really need to have sophisticated click tracks going into their monitors. But what we do is much more open. And it differs every night. So I ask you to invite that in, invite that difference. Okay? Don't grasp at anything. Don't try to hold on to what you did the night before because you can't repeat it. I've tried. Take it from my experience. I've done things that were like, wow, that was really cool. That was amazing. And the next night, I want to do that again. I can't. It was the moment. It was just what happened then. I was trying to grasp onto it. I was trying to hold it. I can't. You can't hold fire. Fire just burns and it's gone. You can't hold it and keep it for the next night. So stay open, stay fluid, and don't be afraid of change. And don't be afraid of, wow, I really love this gong and I play it all the time. And then it's like, I don't play it so much anymore. It's okay. Or a bell, or a bowl, or a shaker, or a rattle, or anything. It's like change happens, okay? Embrace the change. Embrace the moment. See you next time. Here's a good example. I had a plan for this video, and once I got going, it just totally kind of took on a life of its own and went in different directions. So stay fluid. Okay. Thanks.